Hey everybody, what's going on? Coach William Grazione here, owner of Metabolic Evolution Incorporated, bringing you guys the latest evidence-based nutrition and training advice to help you finally master your metabolism and, in this case, your training. So we went ahead and put a video together for you guys talking all about failure. Now, I had the opportunity to be featured on Cody Boom Boom's podcast the other day. It's Boom Boom Performance. For those of you who may not be following that, I would highly recommend you do. He puts out phenomenal information. And on that podcast, I was joined by my good friend Christopher Barakat. You guys who follow me on Instagram, you guys know I call him the professor. And we got asked the question about failure. So what we did was went ahead and put a video together for you guys talking all about failure so you can learn how to use failure as a helpful tool. All right, and that podcast will be live in probably about 2 weeks, so you guys are definitely going to want to check that out, and I will make sure that I include that in the video later on in the future once that podcast is live. So within this video, what I hope to do is bring you guys some context regarding when you can use failure and actually identify what failure is. So let's first and foremost go ahead and start off there. How do we identify what true failure is? So for the novice or intermediate trainee, I think this would be very helpful. Most advanced trainees have an understanding of what true failure actually is, but most novice and intermediates may not. So let me go ahead and explain. When I think about failure, what failure is to me is your inability to get from point A back to point B. Now what I mean by that is imagine that I was utilizing an incline hammer strength bench press, right? I love that machine. It's converging, shortens the pecs really nice. So we're gonna use that as an example. If my torso is upright, I take my humerus and I angle it in this position and I'm all the way back to where the fascia of my pec muscle is stretched out. This is as far as I can go in a comfortable plane. My fascia of my chest is stretched. This is point A, okay? This is what I would consider point A. Now point B would be, can I take my humerus and can I drive it all the way in close to my sternal cavity, and can I shorten the pec fibers as much as possible, creating a lot of tension on that pec. Now if I can get from point A to point B, I can therefore count that as a repetition. Now what will happen over time as your muscles fatigue is that it will be very hard for you to get from point A to point B. Now, extraneous movement is something that I want to talk about as well, because oftentimes when we see people going to true muscular failure in the gym, they're not only recruiting the muscle fibers that they ideally should be, they're recruiting a lot of extra things to help them get the extra repetition. But I would say all of that is not necessary. So as an example, if you're lying down on a bench press and you are doing some repetitions, you get to repetition 8 and then all of a sudden your legs are flaring around, you're doing calf raises, you're humping the air, and you're squiggling your back around, you're kind of inching like this. All of that completely unnecessary. Now, before you can take something to failure, it's important that you first and foremost standardize your form. Meaning that if I'm doing the incline hammer strength bench press, I understand that there are no other moving pieces besides my pec tendons, the fact that my scapula is retracted, locked into the bench, my anterior deltoid is working, and my triceps are working with me to basically press this weight away from my body as my scapula is retracted to create stability in my upper back so that I can press this weight up. So avoid extraneous movements. The second thing is, if you can no longer reach that point B, without the extraneous movement, you're only recruiting what's supposed to be recruited, then I say that the set at that moment in time is over. So once your body tries to adapt by recruiting a bunch of other things to do the work for your chest, your anterior delts, and your triceps, that repetition is over, and I would count that set as true failure. Now, one of the variables that you need to consider here is that most people's idea of failure will change. So as an example, if we see somebody in the gym and we see them over in the corner, they're going ham with great form, like we respect that, right? But a normal person might see or hear somebody going ham in the gym, even if they have amazing form, and just think that that guy's crazy. However, I can guarantee you that guy probably understands what true failure is, whereas the novice, the intermediate, likely probably thinks that a 6 RPE is failure, whereas that guy over in the corner who's jacked, who's crushing it, he understands that a 10 RPE is a 10 RPE. So perception of what the idea of failure is can be dependent upon the individual and how you view failure. But again, we can go backwards and we can say that point A to point B, if you can contract those muscles through the entire range of motion, meaning that there's a bunch of different degrees within this range of motion, can I finish every degree of range of motion, keeping the muscles I'm trying to activate under tension the entire time? And one of the variables that I think is very important when we're talking about failure is the athlete's ability to maintain their cool under extreme amounts of pressure and pain. You see, the pain tolerance of an individual can drastically change how you perceive failure to be. I've trained with a lot of individuals. I've had a lot of individuals come over to my home gym, and while I can create them a training program on paper, and on paper I can send it to them, they might send me a video of their specific exercises they're doing so I can kind of gauge their form. It's completely different if we're actually training somebody in real life. I've had clients come over to my house and they've been running my training program for probably 6-8 weeks. However, what happens when I train them in person, we won't get done with the first exercise, and it's like you're using more weight than you've ever used. You're taking sets farther than you've ever taken them, and it's only because they're training with somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Next, we can talk about how to spot that, right? So if you ever ask an amateur or a rookie to spot you in the gym when you're trying to go to failure, what's the first thing they do? The spotter freaks out if you start to struggle, right? So struggling in their mind is like, struggle's a bad thing. I gotta grab this, I gotta either curl it up or I gotta upright row it off of that person's chest and just get it on the rack, because God forbid that person struggles. The way that you would spot somebody when they're going to true failure is just making sure that that active range of motion that they're going through, from again, point A to point B, your goal is to assist them through the struggle so they can finish and get to point B. Once they are done with that repetition, then you rack it. But it should not be a yank. As fast as the bar is moving, that is the force, that is the acceleration, that is the speed that you should try to maintain during the finishing phase of that repetition. All right, everybody, so we actually only got a couple pieces into this video when I quickly realized this video was going to be probably 20 or more minutes long. And I know that you guys don't like to sit through videos that are longer than like 7-8 minutes. So what I want to do is actually create a training to failure part 2 video, which I will release tomorrow. I'm going to get up early, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to sit right here at my desk, and I'm going to get that video done for you guys so you can check that out tomorrow, which will be Friday, because this one will be posted today, which is Thursday. I really appreciate all you guys for checking out this video. Please go ahead and leave me a comment down below so we can actually start a conversation about this stuff, because I know everybody who watches this video can in some form or fashion connect with the materials of this video. Maybe you've been in the gym training before, you asked a bro to spot you and he just yanked the bar off your chest, or maybe you've taken something to failure but it didn't maybe connect with you that there's a point A and a point B. Let me know how this video helped you guys down in the comment section, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video, which will be Training to Failure Part 2. My name is William Grazione, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.